Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Tonight is the February 10, 2022 Town Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Hope everyone's well. Just a few comments. Glad to see faces. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for no more masks. Just a few comments from myself. So myself and the town board, we started interviews for the vacant seat left on the town board by our town clerk, Mr. Cassidy. Like I've been mentioning, anybody interested in applying for the position, please send your resume or a letter of interest at my office, or just call 221-4303, and we will set you up and get you squared away with an interview. But we have started interviews this evening, actually. I've made several calls lately, myself, members of the Mayors and Supervisors Association in Dutchess County with the county executive. Usually the county executive has multiple calls, usually once a week, to discuss COVID-related issues, testing, pretty much anything, giving assistance to municipalities, which is very helpful. And Dutchess County has been giving out more COVID tests, excuse me, that are supplied by New York State. So if anybody's interested in those tests, please come to Town Hall. Either come to my office, the town clerk's office. We have them here available any time of day, so please just pick them up anytime you can. Also, we've been having several calls with the county executive this past weekend about our storm. The ice storm was pretty significant, actually. There was many municipalities without power. Central Hudson also got on the call, which is very helpful. But they did resolve it pretty quickly, except up in, I think, Ulster County. I think they really had an issue. They were out for several days. That's hard. Those hard-hit areas, they have these warming centers set up. Actually, Dutchess County, our hats off to the county executive. He invited members of residents of Ulster County to come to Dutchess County for warming centers. And actually, East Fishkill, we're going to be a warming center for the area, Southern Dutchess area. Dutchess County did provide us with a grant for a generator, and with those dollars, this will be a warming center in those type of events, or a cooling center in the summer as well. So thank you for Dutchess County for giving us that grant. And it's a smart idea because, unfortunately, we don't know. Sometimes power could be out several days, and that's a problem now, isn't it? So we need people to be prepared, power their cell phones, laptops. They have work still. So unfortunately, these things happen, but thank you to the county executive. Thank you to Central Hudson. They've been very responsive. And, of course, thank you to Ken Williams and our highway staff. They did a tremendous job.
Thank you.
A few weeks ago, I had a meeting with Dutchess County Transportation Council. East Fishkill being one of the largest towns in Dutchess County, we are a permanent sitting member. This group helps facilitate the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. East Fishkill, we've had success with this program in the past. Most recently, we've been approved for the Carroll Drive Bridge replacement. That's through the TIP. That's funding from New York State and federal funds. The original amount was a little underestimated, as everybody knows. Estimates are going through the roof right now. Materials are going through the roof. Everything's going through the roof. So we're looking for additional funding for the bridge. We are working with our traffic engineers, Hudson Valley, with the Dutchess County Transportation Council, the county executive's office, trying to get together and find additional funds for the bridge. But it will happen. This month, we did review with Dutchess County Transportation Council the Unified Planning Work Program. They put this out every 2 years. That's the annual program of federally funded transportation planning projects for the whole entire county. The entire committee, we get to review it, see what's in there, make recommendations. Then it goes out for public comment. After the public comment period, which is 30 days, then we vote to ratify it. So that's what the process is that we're in the middle of right now. And they really are a good group. They do a lot of good work, Dutchess County Transportation Transportation Council, that they're members of Dutchess County Planning, and they really do a tremendous job for all the municipalities in Dutchess County. So thank you to Mark DeBold for that. He's the director. New York State Department of Transportation. I had a meeting with them this month, about 2 weeks ago, with the town attorney, town engineer, and town planner. We were discussing the Route 82 bridge. We've been going back and forth about what is to happen, different proposals for that bridge. We had some trouble with the MTA, but we've got them on board now as well. And we've come to an agreement that the bridge is to be removed, and we will have an at-grade crossing on Route 82 where the bridge is, and we will have a pedestrian bridge above the roadway for the pedestrian traffic for the rail trails. So it's very, very good news. I'm very thankful to Department of Transportation to help fight for what the town wanted, because we did, like I said, get pushback from the MTA. But this would also incorporate a roundabout at Beekman Road, help facilitate a traffic improvement there, and that will slow the traffic coming into the town from the east. And like I mentioned before, this is a project on the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, and it's fully funded from New York State and federal funds, and it's going to be 100% facilitated by the New York State DOT. The timetable really hasn't been discussed yet. Possibly bid opening for 2023, construction maybe 2024. It's not set in stone. They're discussing it now. Right now, they're trying to get final design approvals. Hopefully that will happen this March, another month. After that, the DOT, the town board, and our professionals will be having meetings with the public. Explain the plan, explain what how it's going to be worked out, traffic, different directions for traffic, because we'll have to reroute the traffic away from where the bridge is going to be removed. So all this will be planned out, all this will be discussed with the public in length at many, many meetings. And I gotta say, it's really been a pleasure to work with the Department of Transportation so far in this regard. It's exciting. It's going to transform the corridor coming into the hamlet, and it's exciting. It's something to see. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and thank you to the DOT and, of course, for our staff for all your hard work. In discussing traffic mitigation plans, we're also awaiting the award from the New York State CMAQ grant, which East Fishkill has applied for. Now, this is our second or third year in a row. Last year, we were high up on the list, but we got beat out by the town of Wappinger, where they are going to put a roundabout at New Hackensack Road right by the airport. Worthwhile project, very costly project, I believe at $10 million. Now we are applying for the Route 82 in the hamlet to have two roundabouts, one at Trinca Lane and one at Unity. And that's the main strip of 82, which we will be renaming Main Street. So we're hopeful to get this award. It's about an $8 million grant. And this will be a huge improvement to the entire hamlet. That would also incorporate a bypass road behind the businesses located across the street from Acme. So on the bagel side and the tiramisu side, behind all those businesses would be a bypass road. This would be a bypass road permanent that would always be there even after the construction is completed. We feel that, number one, it's very important to keep those businesses alive during construction, so we have to implement this bypass road. So we're working on that right now. But, you know, I just like to mention, some people talk about roundabouts, they don't like them, they're no good, or what have you. But let me just keep everybody reminded. Route 82 in the center of Hopewell is almost at full capacity, which that means there are almost 20,000 cars a day that go through that corridor. When we do reach 20,000 cars a day, which we're almost there, that middle lane, or that suicide lane that we have, everybody calls it the suicide lane, will not function correctly no more. People say it doesn't function correctly now, and I tend to agree with them. But just keep in mind, if that happens, the DOT, it's a New York State road, Department Department of Transportation, they will actually just close that lane, put barriers so that nobody going east or west could make a left-hand turn any longer. Now, I don't think that's beneficial for anybody, any businesses in the town, any residents want to see that. So this is a plan. This traffic mitigation plan is well thought out. We had our traffic engineers do multiple studies on, New York State Department of Transportation also. So if this comes to fruition, we're going to be very thankful to see this project happen. It's going to be a little bit of a hell to get through this construction, but if we do get approved for those grants, if we could get those two projects done, the bridge and that at the same time, then it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. You get it done with, you get a great product when we're done. So a big thank you to our town planner, our grants coordinator, and keep everybody posted when I hear more. I had a great meeting this week with members of Central Hudson, their real property service supervisor, and the district director, who's also our government intermediate. We discussed a whole bunch of stuff that's coming into town, new projects, how they're going to help facilitate them. Also, we discussed the rising cost of energy, very, very high. Everybody's complaining. Multiple board members are getting calls from the public daily almost how horrible it is. So they are going to come here in our March meeting to give a presentation to discuss why this is happening and possibly, hopefully, what can be done about it. I don't know, but they'll be here to answer all the public's questions. So look for that in March. We will advertise for it. I attended the Rec Advisory Board this past week. I introduced Councilman Marinaro to the group. He is the new rec liaison. We discussed the potential of possibly a new position, a shared service position for our rec director. We're in the process right now of looking into that. That would be with the town of Pauling. I did attend the town board meeting last night in Pauling, discussed with their town board the possibility of what can this be and how this would be facilitated, and they're thinking about it too. It's a big move, and it hasn't been done anywhere in New York State, not for, we've been looking to see if this was done and how we could maybe piggyback off it, but it hasn't been done in New York State, so this is new territory for us. But we don't know if that's going to come to fruition yet, something we're planning. We do like shared services here in East Fishkill. We share, of course, everybody knows our assessor with Beacon. We share our town planner and attorney with town of Cortland. We share our human resource director with town of Wappinger. We share wherever we can. Why? Because we get the best person for the job at a good salary, and we share those costs 50-50. So it's a wonderful combination. And I'll keep everybody posted, of course, about that, and I'm sure Councilman Marinaro will have something to say as well. Highway Department. Had several meetings with the Highway Superintendent recently, with the new liaison, Councilman Franco. Planning what's going on in the Highway Department, trying to plan for the future. New York State is expanding their MS4 regulations, which is another unfunded mandate to all us local municipalities. And this time, I think it's going to cost every municipality that is an MS4 town a lot of money. And we're going to need more people to facilitate all these new regulations. And some of these regulations are going to be very difficult to enforce. So we're going to have to train people. We're going to have to get new people. You know, New York State, they pass the buck. They pass the burden on to the local municipalities whenever they can. They know our main source of income is property taxes. We have the highest property taxes in the whole country, and they don't care. Well, you know, we're getting fed up with it now, because if this new regulations is what it says it's going to be, it's like a book. It's a book of things that we have to do, and these developers, these builders have to adhere to. We have to make sure that they're doing it correctly. These builders have to spend more money to make sure it's all done correctly, that they're in compliance. And what happens? They pass the buck on to the consumer. Whoever's buying those houses, renting those units, it's a bad, bad system. So I really wish somebody would do something in Albany. Unfortunately, nothing's been done. I'm sorry I have to rant like this. Sometimes I get like that, but you know, the town though has to be in compliance with New York State law, and we will. So I'm thankful to the Highway Department, our town engineering department, coming together, working together, trying to get a solution to this as best we can without spending more money for new personnel. So thank you both. Our Veterans Memorial Park. Today, actually, we had a meeting with our Veterans Council and our liaison, Councilman Franco, and we are truly blessed in this town. We have an outstanding and active, involved veterans population here. All those people who sit on this Veterans Council are veterans: Jim Reynolds, Don Burns, Virgil Capillari, Bruce Canini, and of course the rest of the committee who volunteer their time. We just want to assist our veterans wherever we can, and this is going to be a wonderful project. As we mentioned before, the town board did fund a study to be done for about roughly 3 acres across the street to be our new Veterans Memorial Park, and it's going to be wonderful. Today they came in with a bunch of different drawings for us to go over, give ideas, share ideas, and this is one meeting of many that we're having. I'm sure Councilman Franco will go into more details about that, but East Fishkill, we're a very proud veterans community, and we're going to make our veterans proud with this project. So I'm very happy and thankful to all the volunteers. And with that, Mr. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Franco?
Present.
Councilman Marimero?
Present.
Councilman Beepan?
Present.
Supervisor D'Alessandro?
Present. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Tonight we have a presentation by Altice. Mr. Dulligan, how are you, sir? Will you come up right to the podium?
Mr. Supervisor, if I could just really quickly, because of my employment through Verizon, I'm required to recuse myself from this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor, and to the board for having me here tonight. Just coming to give an update on our fiber to the home project, something it's been in the works for Altice for a few years now. Last year, I gave a brief update on the project, and here we are sort of a year forward. Soon we're going to be building East Fishkill in areas north of Westchester, building out our fiber to the home, which means for residents and customers 1 gig of symmetrical speeds for every home. And with that also means, because the network is new, it's upgraded, we have fiber in our main corridors, our backbone. The neighborhood level is what we call coax, so that's electrical, so now it goes from light to electrical. This is going to be completely fiber light all the way through to the customer's premise. So that means also with that network comes more reliability. Certain equipment that's needed to boost signals will no longer be needed. But part of that project, we have to come to the town to seek permits because we have to build cabinets in the right-of-way. So the cabinets themselves are structures that are about 5 feet by 5 feet. They sit adjacent to the pole. And the reason for these is they really power the network. When you're a certain distance from the head end, you need to have power to continue pushing the light and the fiber. That's the purpose of these. We need 6 locations in the town of East Fishkill, so that's what I'm seeking is 6 permits. And I can read off the locations if that's helpful.
Sure, that would be great.
Sure. So the first is, and I want to preface this by saying these are suggestions by us where it works for our network topology. It doesn't mean we can't figure out a better spot if there's some reason that there's a dangerous corner or something we wouldn't be aware of, and we can certainly work with you on that. So the first location is 90 East Hook Road, and these are approximate because, again, they're in the right-of-way next to poles. These are the closest addresses to these locations. The second is 2 White Pod Road. Third is 67 Pills Road.
67.
Pills Road?
Pills?
Pels, P-E-L-L-S?
Yes, thank you. The fourth is 1 Ridge Road. The fifth is 13 Herring Road.
Harrigan? Yep.
Thank you. And the last is 89 Fishkill Road.
Okay.
Now, the timing of this is such that we seek permits before we start building, so the construction will happen in 2023. But what we'd like to do is have flexibility if we're hung up somewhere because this is across our entire footprint. Sometimes it can come sooner if we have to pivot. We need flexibility, so that's why we come ahead of time to get permits. We're also going to come and do some aerial work, like I said, extending the fiber to the customer home. And we're not going to, obviously, just from a customer's perspective, we're not going to force anyone on the network. It's a migration. We're certainly going to incentivize people to come over because we're investing hundreds of millions in this network. We want to make sure people are using it. But there will be a slow migration when people are ready to sort of transition over.
Right?
So I'll sort of pause there and see if there's any questions from the board or anyone else.
Questions?
I do have a question. So a lot of our residents complain throughout the workday that there's a great amount of buffering or internet drops out and there's just kind of dead periods of time. Is this a bandwidth issue or is it something else tied to the project that you're doing?
It's not tied to the project. I think what it is, as we've seen, and we can certainly look at, if you can give me addresses, we can have our network team take a look at the network health in that area. But because customer habits have really changed, right, the network, our existing network, with the pandemic happening and people working at home, before the pandemic, we had, we saw peak periods being in the morning and the evening. That obviously shifted with the pandemic. Now there is no more peak periods. It's all day long, right, and it's into the night. So what happens sometimes is there's congestion, right, because people are on there. So we have taken measures to split nodes, which are, neighborhood networks that we split to create more capacity, or add upstream channels, which is a process we go through with the FCC. But there are mechanisms to sort of open up the network and create more capacity, which we've done throughout the pandemic to make sure, we have two, while we're building a new one, the one that's existing is also providing what we're promising. So if there's addresses you want, I can certainly look into it and do some homework on that.
Do you anticipate the new Altice one to help with a lot of this issue, or these issues?
Yes. The nature of this project is what we call future-proofing for that reason, right? To kind of make sure there's enough capacity. We're starting with 1 gig per home symmetrical speeds, but soon we're going to offer thereafter. The plan is to offer up to 10 gigs to every house, so we want to make sure it's scalable. So yeah.
Okay.
This will.
And it'll be like a fully fiber system, like from your central office to the house, not just the pole?
Right, and
Cool.
inside the house too, so all the way to the equipment. So sometimes they have a NID outside, the network interface device outside the home, and then it's coax in, but what we're doing is bringing the fiber all the way to the device, so it's completely fiber all the way.
Okay. And is this going to be like a relatively new project, the fiber project throughout the town? Or do you need to run fiber through all the poles, or is it there in existence already, or?
I'm sure there's areas that already have fiber. I'm not familiar with exactly where they'll have to do the aerial, but there probably are areas like main corridors that have fiber, because we have to carry the network, the data back to the head end. So usually the main throughways and routes do have fiber. So it's mainly the neighborhoods.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilman?
Yeah, as far as the cost of the project, do you have any idea what you guys are investing in this?
I don't know exactly, but I know to date it's been hundreds of millions. I can't give you a precise number, but I think the total investment, once the project, we expect it to be close to $1 billion to create our whole network, so our whole footprint, which right now is the East, which encompasses New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. We're also building out in our Western territories, which is, out West and South.
Besides this upgrade that you're doing now, as far as managing the calls at the central office whenever there is a disruption in service, does the company intend to do anything about that? I mean, sometimes you could be on the phone for hours for assistance.
Yes.
And even at the local level over here, you can't get through those offices anymore. And we have a huge complaint. I mean, what you're doing is probably great for the future, but right now, the community, I receive a lot of negative comments. They can't get through, they can't get out. Especially last year when the kids were homeschooled, there was a disruption in service. They couldn't be online. I know we live maybe 60 miles away from New York City, but that doesn't mean that these communities should be having less of a service. What are you going to do to improve the other side of the
Right, so
operation?
we recognize that that's a pain point for us. So what that means is during the pandemic, same thing kind of happened to us. We weren't insulated from the pandemic, so we had to shut down some call centers, things that had happened which negatively impacted our customer care department. So what we're doing now is investing more into that. So now we're putting people back. We had to outsource some of that, offshore some of the call answering because people just couldn't stay in the call centers because of the pandemic. So we had to outfit people in their homes, which took a while, meaning setting up their terminals, doing all that sort of to make sure there's an interface in their home. All that had to take place. Now we're transitioning back to what we call normalcy. So we are investing a lot of money to increase care, meaning more reps, educating them more, doing all those sort of things to make sure. And we have real obligations with New York State Public Service Commission. So after Storm Isaias, there was some, not just us, but all utilities sort of had to go through a testimonial and sort of speak on behalf of what happened and what went well, didn't go well. Some of us, including Altice, have obligations which include money spent, specific monies on care. So we are focused on that.
And the other question I have is, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but as the economy is going in a certain direction and there are certain costs that a family has to incur, the purchase of food, energy, it's going through the roof. Your company is becoming a necessity because a lot of us have done away with landlines. I personally know this. When you go to reshape the contract that a homeowner has with your company and they want to reduce cost, they are confronted with walls where your company does not allow to use certain things or dissect the package. Are you guys going to ever do anything to facilitate that? I know that you're corporations and your investments, that you have to make returns, but the community right now is on their knees. The seniors do need, your service for many reasons. They connected to central fire stations. They got to call 911. They have no other way by using your service. That is also a huge issue in this community.
So I could provide information to the town in terms of what programs we have. We have discounted broadband programs, some that are facilitated by the FCC and the state. We've participated as a company. So we do have programs which give discounted broadband and very good speeds along with it that we've committed to. So I can pass along the flyers and information that maybe if the town wants to disseminate it to so people know that program's here and they can enroll. That's mainly for people in SSI and also that qualify for National School Lunch Program. There's certain qualifiers. So everyone may not be caught in that, but we recognize that people have various degrees of sort of income. So we have plans that run the gamut, and we can certainly talk about what those plans are. We can get more information about what the packages are. So just maybe if it's easier to see rather than trying to navigate online and find it, so it's not a mystery. So we can provide more information on that front. And on your point about sort of breaking down. From a video perspective, it's a long conversation, but I'll try to make it brief, is that the cost is rising because the programmers that produce the content are charging more money, even though the viewership is going on different devices. So each year we have to, whenever the agreements are done, with say, for example, if it's ESPN or whoever, MTV, they come to us and say, you have to, here's 20 channels, or not 20, but here's 10 channels you have to take. And we say, we just want the flagship, the best channel. They say, no, that's more expensive than if you take the 10, because they want to see if other channels stick. So that's why you see this huge catalog of video, because it's actually more economic to take that than to make it like an a la carte sort of scenario. So again, I can provide more information to the town to make sure you're aware of what programs we have for discounted pricing. So again, so you don't have to navigate online.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody in the public wish to ask any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So I couldn't hear a lot of what you were saying.
Right to the podium.
You had mentioned the Public Service Commission, and Councilman Marinaro had mentioned, I believe he was referring to bundled service.
Correct.
And so currently, if I'm not mistaken, it's a requirement to have internet service in order to have a dial tone line. And I'm just wondering, in circumstances where, say, a senior citizen didn't want internet service but a dial tone line, are you going to unbundle that?
I don't know the answer to that. I think the reason why we have both paired together is because they're both over the same network. Our voice is IP. It's right over the internet. So I can certainly find out if we have plans to. I don't know if we do right now to sort of break apart the bundle, just offer voice.
Okay.
I don't know.
Based on what Councilman Marinaro had asked, I think specifically that's pertinent to the question.
Okay.
Now, are you going to run coax and redundance with the fiber once the fiber is up and working?
No, because the fiber will have ring topology, so if there's a cutoff point, it can reroute to a certain degree. So
I'm familiar with a sonic loop. I think that's what you're referring to.
Right.
Okay, so my question to you is I think you said that you weren't going to force anybody into the fiber, so you would have to have redundancy in the coax.
well, we'll have both networks operating, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that was my question. I think you also had mentioned 1G will be the bottom line service for the fiber optic.
That won't be the bottom line, that'll be the top two. I mean, we'll have staggered,
Oh, so there'll be,
yeah, there'll be one,
400 meg.
symmetrical, 100, 300.
okay, so similar to what you currently have.
Right.
Okay. Do you foresee lowering your prices once it's cheaper to maintain?
I would hope so. I think that we want to incentivize people to use the network, like I said, so we can't do that unless we offer, but most likely, in my mind, I don't have the answer to that today, but be a promotion to get you to come over and, there'd be a cost savings in that.
So, and your costs, they're not regulated?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No? Oh, one more.
Good evening, everyone. Ed Sloshower. Just for disclosure purposes, I'm a school board trustee for the Wappinger Central School District, but I'm not here tonight to represent the school board. I am here as a parent in the community. What you have and what you stated moving forward sounds great. The problem is, and as Councilman Marinaro has brought up, is the situation where, obviously because of the pandemic, kids were home, and it was homeschooling, and it was online, and it was virtual, and it was Zoom. Obviously, we're not in that situation right now, but school district, and I'm sure other areas, there are a certain percentage of students, for various reasons, are still at home. They're not in school buildings. They're either doing a program through BOCES. They're still online. The situation is for now, because we don't know moving forward what's going to happen pandemic-wise. Hopefully, this is done, and it's great to see everyone's face in a room, okay? But moving forward, we don't know, and we don't know if something is going to happen down the road. So to be proactive, we have certain areas in the town, as was brought up, reception is terrible. Hillside Lake area and Stormville, where things go out. I would make a recommendation, because you asked about addresses of problem areas. If you could reach out to Dr. Dwight Bonk, the superintendent of schools, or Mr. Darren Lokema, the assistant superintendent of information and handles technology, can give you an idea of where these certain areas are that you might be able to talk with your either customer service or your repair department, what's going on and what can be done. What you've planned for moving forward sounds great, but as a parent and within the community, the rest of this year, next year, the problem with learning loss is a huge problem. Either if there's kids that have to attend summer school, especially special education kids, it's an enormous challenge for them to be on a computer to do work. What's even more challenging for a special ed student is if every 2 seconds, okay, the system shuts down, they don't know what to do. Did I touch the wrong button? Did I do something? They go into crisis, whatever the circumstances are. So reaching out, and coming here tonight and explaining everything is fantastic, but we also need to partner with you from a school district standpoint, because we have to figure out a way how to best help these kids if they're going to be, for whatever reason, at home, whether it's short-term or long-term, right now. So if that's something you could bring back to your superiors, that would be great. If you could reach out to the school district and just find out if there's just a way how we can just, for right now, improve the connection capability. Because the other issue is, thankfully, things have passed, but we do have some kids that if they're not feeling well, they're staying home. Assignments are being put on a Google Doc platform, which they can access every day. Obviously, it's not to the tremendous amount of 10,000 kids on at the same time, but again, in the bad spots, if these kids can't access, they can't do their work, they can't hand in their assignment electronically, and again, they're falling behind. So I think since you're the only source, we got to all work together, school district, town, and your company. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? So my neighbor's cutting my service and using it, stealing it? No, I'm only kidding. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the information. Appreciate it. Okay. We have a few public hearings tonight. Oh, yeah, you want to get Councilman Franco? He's probably out there. Hello? Okay, so our first public hearing is an adjourned public hearing we had a few months ago. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing considering the local law restrict construction within floodways? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now opened. Town engineer, would you give us a review about this? I think it's been a while, we forgot.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So the town is responsible to review applications for development in floodplains. This development can be something minor, like maybe an above-ground pool or shed, and all the way to brand-new construction, new homes or businesses. Just so that people know, we ourselves don't identify the floodplains. We use maps created by the federal government, FEMA. They issue flood maps. We work within guidelines from the New York State DEC, and the idea is to limit flood damage or flood damage prevention. So with that said, we're running out of prime land in the town as we develop, and more people are coming in to try to develop, low-lying areas, and in many cases areas that are more prone to flooding. And the code that we had in the past is being tested more and more now by these proposals to develop in these floodplains. So what we wanted to do was kind of shore up some of the gray areas, make it quite clear what the requirements are going to be, what the expectation is, the type of analysis that's going to need to be done and by whom, make sure it's qualified engineers that are experienced in this type of analysis, to ensure that when development is proposed in these low areas, these flood areas, that, if it's done properly, if it's, possible at all. And, as part of this, there'll be public hearings and notifying the neighbors, so the neighbors will have opportunities to come up and share their concerns and what they've experienced over time. We hold public hearings if somebody wants to put a shed too close to the property line. So we certainly want to have the same opportunity for neighbors to come up and express, what they've seen over the years with regard to flooding, so that all this can be factored in prior to make a decision on whether to issue that floodplain or not, floodplain development permit or not.
Okay, so basically, a lot of the good property in town is already built on. The builders are looking for subpar pieces, and perhaps there's issues for homeowners in the future because of these pieces, and they might not divulge that it's in a flood-prone area, and then the buyer is kind of out of luck.
Well, we
have to protect the homeowners,
you
right?
take a lot of this land, for instance, it goes to tax sale. The person who previously owned it knows it floods, and they stop paying taxes, goes to tax sale. People come up from different areas, buy the land relatively cheap, and they expect that they can build a house on it. And they've spent money now, and they expect to move forward with it. So, if it can be determined that it's buildable, that's fine, but there's certain requirements that they have to meet, and we wanted to make sure that the code is crystal clear what those requirements
Okay,
are.
very good. Okay, let's open up comments from the public. Anybody in the public wish to speak on local law for construction within floodways? Any board members, any comments?
So Scott, I got maybe two questions. I don't know. So what we're trying to do is kind of monitor. We will be a monitoring agent between what FEMA has declared flood areas and what could be modified.
Well, the idea is FEMA's
Modifying some of the
puts out
plans.
maps. They put out the maps, and there's two areas. There's floodway area and a floodplain area. Floodway, you cannot build whatsoever. That's out, okay? Floodplain you can develop, but you have to demonstrate that you're not going to impact downstream or your neighbors, okay? There's not going to be a significant increase. And in order to do that, there's an analysis that has to be done, a very extensive analysis. And, you really need people that are expert in that field to do that. But, the idea is by filling in a low to chase that water someplace else? And where are you chasing it to? Are you going to chase that water? And that's all part of this analysis.
Does that have to still go through the approval of FEMA?
No, we administer that. We administer that.
And the second question I have, if anybody owns, let's say 300 acres parcel, and it was all usable at one time, but through the years, it became flood area part of it, can a property owner declare hardship on that property that it cannot be used either for farming or for whatever use, be taken off the tax map?
Well, you can seek amendment to these maps. If you can demonstrate that there's a bust in the elevation or that's not accurate, you can certainly appeal that decision with the federal government and get that revised. If
There's
you can
an appeal
demonstrate,
process.
there is an appeal process.
Okay, so they could reduce their tax on the property by going through a
Well, I don't think the appeal affects the taxes. It removes you from that flood area.
Right.
Well, I'm talking about reducing the cost.
So you're talking about
If the government tells me that I can use 150 acres, why should I continue to pay taxes?
That I can't speak to.
yeah, the assessor, you have to talk to the assessor.
Yeah. Same thing for wetlands. You can't build in wetlands.
Right.
No, I understand. But at one time, that property could be used for farming. Through the years,
Well, it still
because of
could be
different
used.
reasons.
Yeah, you can flood in a floodplain.
Correct.
Because you're not filling it in. You're more than welcome to farm that. It's when you fill it in. When you displace the water, that's where we step in.
Would like communities such as like Lake City fall into this? Or parts of it?
Lake City, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So I notice it says like sheds here, right? So how, like they would have to go get like an external review in order to replace a shed or is it just build a new shed?
No, it's really for the new construction. You know, if you take a vacant parcel, I know sheds are considered as part of development, and we issue a permit for that, but we don't require these extensive for existing homes.
This is for a new home
Okay,
construction.
yeah, because it just said new or structures or new structures, so something basic where they're already living.
We do regulate sheds in floodplains, but we don't require these, we have the discretion to
Okay,
require.
so it'd be
these
some
studies.
sort of significant.
For a shed, you know, somebody popping a shed is not going to flood out the neighbor, a shed per se.
Right.
But you build a brand-new house and bring in fill and do all that work, that can impact. the
Right.
neighbors.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Anybody else in the public wish to speak for or against? No? Okay. With that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now closed. And do I have a motion to adopt the negative declaration in the local law?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you so much. Okay. Next public hearing, number 2. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing to consider a local law that would increase the exemption benefits allowed to veterans?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now opened. So we've been discussing this several times. How can we get the most benefits for our veterans? What can we offer them? There's not much. New York State, is not very cooperative. But one thing we can do is increase the exemption as much as we can by law. So that's what we are trying to do here. Would the attorney like to expand and explain?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. So now, as you mentioned in your comments, the town has the option to update its code so that veterans will be entitled to the maximum benefits as permitted under the law. So it would be an exemption of $75,000 for all veterans, an additional $50,000 on top of the $75,000 for combat veterans, so $125,000 altogether, and then $250,000 altogether for disabled veterans. And so what I would recommend is that the board hear any comments tonight and then leave the public hearing open. Since the state has been providing additional guidance recently on the implementation of these enhanced exemptions, so I think leaving it open would leave the town a little bit of flexibility in case anything else needs to be added.
So you think they might increase it?
I don't necessarily increase it, but they may have further guidance on the implementation.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we open this up to any public comments first, before we have the board discuss? Anybody wish to speak for or against a local law to give the veterans the maximum exemption allowed by New York State law? Great idea, we do too. Anybody else in the public? Any comments, town board? Long time coming, right?
Michael, something that was brought up before for the discussion. What about, can we do the same thing for first responders, law enforcement, and local first responders who are volunteers?
I'll do some further research on that, but this specific
I'm
law.
sorry to interrupt you, Counselor, but I did the research on that. And the credit they get as an income tax credit is greater than any exemption we would give them on an assessment. So it's either or. They can only have the exemption on the, for their assessment, or they can take an income tax deduction.
And there's a lot of people in our district that already use the income tax.
Right, and it's far greater benefit to them to use the income tax than the assessment.
Okay.
But by law, they're only allowed one. I asked about it.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? No, so what we'll do is we'll adjourn this public hearing until we get the full guidance from New York State, then we'll adopt the local law. So actually, we do have a letter from our memo from our assessor, Mayor Martin, and I'll read it. As you're aware, New York State has authorized local municipalities to increase the real property tax exemption provided to veterans. Supervisor D'Alessandro and East Fishkill Town Board have always been appreciative and grateful to our veterans. I fully support extending the veterans' real property tax exemption to the maximum limits permitted under Section 458 of the New York State Real Property Tax Law, and she thanks us and the board for implementing this. So I don't know anybody who would be against this, but you're crazy if you are. But do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to our March voting meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting now adjourned. Okay. Our third public hearing. Oh, yeah, this is good. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing to consider a local law that will consider authorizing the issuances of appearance tickets for the town code violations by the town police department?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now open. So it comes time to time when there are violators of our town code who have received a stop work order, or they're in violation for something else, and they like to do the work on the weekend or at night because nobody's there to watch them. But East Fishkill, we have a full-time police department. So, and luckily we don't go through this very often, thank God. But when it does happen, it is nice to know that our police department will be able to issue them a violation for our town code. In all seriousness, these are serious issues why they are given stop work orders, and we have to make sure that our police department is appropriately prepared to issue the citations. Would the town engineer or the town attorney like to expand upon this local law at all?
I think that was a good summary. Just this would clarify that the town police can also issue the appearance tickets for any code violations.
It's pretty simple. Right now, we don't, there was a little gray area, is that correct, Chief?
This eliminates the gray area, makes it better for my officers.
Right, because when they issue the citation, they want to have a clear, crystal clear way in case that they have to go to court to defend the reason why they did and make sure that the law backs them up for giving that they had to give the citation, correct?
The town board is now giving us the authorization to issue something we didn't have the authorization to. So now we're covered, we're good.
Well, I think that the town, that the police officers always had the ability to enforce all town laws.
The issue was more the way the existing laws were written. It was very specific who could and didn't mention us, and now it mentions us, so I think it puts us in a much better position.
Okay. Before I get board member comments, anybody in the public wish to speak for or against us doing a new local law for the town police to issue appearance tickets for code violators? No? Anybody on the board wish to speak? Comment about it?
The ticket that they will be issuing will be for appearing
To the judge.
to the judge or to the building department?
No, to the judge.
Because that's what happens right now. The building inspector will give them an appearance ticket, right, and come before the judge.
Right, or the zoning administrator would.
Okay.
Any other comments, Councilman? No concerns? It's pretty straightforward. Okay. So with that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now closed. Do I have a motion to adopt the negative declaration in local law?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Local law now passed. Thank you. There you go, Chief.
So happy.
Okay. Last public hearing of the night. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing, consider a local law that will consider a moratorium on Route 82?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now open. So the town board has been discussing the vision of our hamlets for a long time now, and actually we did have our economic development director come in January at our town board workshop to give a presentation on our vision of the hamlet right here in Hopewell and possibly into other areas of the town, and it's exciting, a lot of buzz about it. The community is very excited about it, and I think that we have to maybe make a pause onto if there's anything going on in the hamlet to make sure we can do a study, and that we could maybe set architectural standards for any new construction to mesh with our vision that our economic development director did present last month. So that this is what this is all about. Would the town attorney like to give a review about the local law?
Sure. So as the supervisor touched upon his introductory remarks, and as he just mentioned now, the town's been working on obtaining grants, specifically the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant, to create a traditional Main Street on the Route 82 corridor. And before the board tonight is a narrowly tailored moratorium that would expire November 30th of this year. And it would be in place to ensure that the town has all necessary infrastructure in place and to maximize and to have standards to maximize the aesthetic appeal of the corridor. And this would create a pause and allow the town to hire the necessary consultants to implement the town's plan to turn this to an attractive Main Street area.
Thank you, Counselor. Why don't we open up comments to the public? Anybody in the public wish to speak for or against, please come up to the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor, Town Board. I have some prepared remarks, but I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Patrick Manning. I'm wearing two hats tonight. One is a lifelong East Fishkill resident. The other one is Economic Development Director for the town of East Fishkill. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening. This action is yet another chapter of a book that you, Mr. Supervisor, and this board started writing several months ago to reshape the vision of the Hopewell Junction hamlet, among our other hamlets, for the benefit of the town taxpayers as a whole, while thinking forward to generations to come. And as I said, this is not new, but a chapter of a book that started to be written from the advent of the zoning overlay for mixed use in the hamlet, the creation of the Rail Trail Committee, and there are two members of that committee here tonight, Superintendent Ken Williams and Maria Mahoney. This CMAQ grant you just spoke about, redefining the role of the Economic Development Director, the branding and signage of the historic hamlet, one which has now been approved by the town board, and the first signs are now being made, and we'll leave this with you, Mr. Supervisor, so you can show others. And the renaming of Route 82 to Main Street. Many chapters have been written tonight, that have brought us here tonight. The need for this moratorium is apparent almost on a daily basis. In a recent planning board meeting, an applicant was asked if there was any certain designs, materials, or color schemes to refer to. And board members were trying to define traditional appeal or the character of the hamlet. But no one had defined examples to offer of what that entailed. To paraphrase Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, when asked to define an issue, he couldn't define it, but I know it when I see it. Well, now we're going to be able to define what we want to make East Fishkill not only a great place to live, but also a great place to work and play and recreate and shop. And that's smart planning by behalf of you folks. Now, I ask that this town board pass this moratorium to properly plan for our town and its future. As business philosopher Jim Rohn taught, progress only comes from making decisions. Your decision on this moratorium makes this chapter of this great American novel more than a short story, and I really commend you all for taking this opportunity to define what this town's going to look like in generations to come. I ask for you to vote yay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name's Anthony Mirando. I'm a land use attorney with Cuddy and Fader in Fishkill. I actually don't have prepared statements because I was hoping not to speak. I'm fortunate enough to be working on a handful of projects in the town of East Fishkill right now, so I'm also excited about the town taking a closer look at its vision. My real question tonight is just to nail down exactly what parcels are subject to the moratorium. I hadn't seen a list or a map, and I just wanted to circle back and confirm that. I understand it runs from Palin to Beekman. To Beekman. But it's south of Beekman, so it doesn't extend past that intersection?
That's correct. Yeah.
Up to Beekman Road, correct?
Yeah, so it wouldn't incorporate Beekman Road, no.
Correct. Okay, so it's stop. So at that intersection, the parcels that are past that would not be subject to the moratorium?
No.
Meaning, yes. Meaning what I said?
Yes, it would not be included in the moratorium. Anything past Beekman Road.
Okay, got it. That was my question. Assuming that's the case, then great.
Right to Beekman Road, that's it. That's where it ends.
Stop. Okay. I actually am mad at myself. I should have brought a map so it could just, because the parcels I'm concerned about are right at that corner. So, okay.
Great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Liz Visconti, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to pause and really think about what you're going to do with the moratorium. And it goes hand in hand with what we heard about last month. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, Supervisor.
So Nestler, how are you?
Good. My name is Mike Nestler, General Manager, and my family owns Hope Easy Storage in town. Most of you know I'm 58. I was born and raised in this town, and I went to St. Columba. I've lived in my entire life, basically in Southern Dutchess. I moved back to Stormville about 12 years ago, so I consider myself a lifelong resident of Hopewell.
I would too.
I've been watching the Channel 22 and the business forum over the years, and it's obvious the town officials, as has been said tonight, are really working to change the image of the hamlet of Hopewell. They want a quaint, picturesque, pedestrian-friendly. They're trying to be more like Fishkill or Rhinebeck or Red Hook. And we all talked about the efforts they put in so far with the traffic circles and the grass medians, service roads, zoning change, and now the latest is changing the name of the to Main Street. So I see the effort. I greatly appreciate the effort to try to change the town to be more of what they're looking for. I think in general the idea of a moratorium is a good thing. thing. It gives the other town boards and Architectural Advisory Board a much clearer definition of what they're looking for. And I also think it serves another purpose. It gives prospective developers an idea of what you're looking for. That way, when they come in with their first presentation, they're closer to what you're looking for. There's not a lot of resubmittals and that, so that is a benefit. But where I have a problem with the moratorium in the big picture is you spent years pushing for redevelopment and in the hamlet, and now when it's possibly starting conceptually, you slam the door on it and says, no, we got to stop for a while here. I don't know what Tom Woods can write, but I'm thinking more of some kind of a conditional moratorium. A few of the things that I think there should be factors into it are, because a property fronts onto 82 doesn't mean it's necessarily visible on 82. The development could be far enough off the road. Example, if Tompkins Mapac Bank came to you and says they wanted to do something, they should be held to pretty high scrutiny. They're right at a traffic circle, and it is important. If Acme came to you instead, the post office, the bank, the parking lots, everything blocks the view of Acme. Yes, their land touches 82, but I don't think they should be held to the same standard, and I don't think the moratorium should slow them down if they had something they wanted to do. Another point, it would be existing businesses versus a new business coming to town. An existing business that's already in town who wants to expand to keep their operation going will more than likely continue the similar architecture and the color scheme that they have presently and wouldn't be affecting the image as much as a brand new business that would be presenting something entirely different. So there's a possibility that an existing business could be look very, similar and wouldn't have any near the effect on the visibility that we're trying to accomplish in the town. Another factor is if an application has been put in front of any of the boards presently. Before an application goes in front of a board, a developer spends a whole bunch of time, money, and planning to figure out what they want to do. And in their minds, one of the last steps is finally put it in front of the town to get the approvals. They've got in their heads that it's already approved and done. They've changed revised their business plan. They know what they want to accomplish once this development is done. Now to take that away from them, you're going to greatly affect the businesses. Finally, right now we all know the financial situation of the country, and I don't think anybody believes in the next year that interest rates are going to go down. So by putting a moratorium on things for businesses that we're trying to progress, you could be costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars when they finally can go and do their development. So I think some form of a conditional moratorium would make more sense, but once again, how can you write a moratorium that isn't discriminatory and that would hold up to a legal challenge? So I think there's some conditions on what should be allowed to progress over the next year while the moratorium is into place. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may,
Yes.
Section 2 of the moratorium, and I'll read it verbatim, says, "No agency or board of the town will accept, review, or process any application for construction of new buildings or expansion or modifications of existing uses by more than 30% during the effective dates of this law. Nothing here will prevent internal modifications, et cetera." So there are some limiting factors in this moratorium.
There are, but that was a mistake. That should be 50%. Now that you brought that to my attention. So can I make a modification and suggest that we change Section 2, moratorium, no agency or board of the town will accept, review, or process any application or construction of new buildings or expansion or modification of the existing use by more than 50% during the effective dates of this law. Nothing here will prevent internal modifications, et cetera. Is that okay?
That's acceptable. If the board decides to vote on this, we'll just vote on it as amended.
Okay.
Do we have to take a vote on that, or?
When we vote, I'll make the motion as amended.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, regarding the traffic circles, I remember when...
But this isn't for that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just want to get through the public hearings and then we'll go to general town issues.
Pertinent to the traffic flow and the moratorium.
This is more for design standards. Anybody else wish to speak for or against the moratorium on Route 82 from Palin to Beekman Road? No? Okay, board members?
Just want to say that, just to rephrase some of the comments that have been made, we've been discussing the design and redesign of the downtown area of East Fishkill for a few years now. Many of us had an idea of what we wanted to go, where we wanted to go, but not a definite idea, like Mr. Manning said before. It's not an easy task. Sometimes we don't want to spend money in hiring professionals that they might come and tell us, but rather we want to hear from the public. And maybe this public hearing should have happened a while back, but the intent is all in favor of the community, including the business community. I just wanted to put that as a local resident and a town board member.
Okay.
If I can add, the town board, our professionals, including Mr. Manning, has put in a lot of effort into our new redevelopment ideas of what the Hopewell Hamlet should look like, and to allow the continuation of new development while this is all happening, planning is in place, would be a disservice to the work that they've put in already, and then the continuation of their plans, so forth. So this really does not impact the existing buildings and any minor or modifications that's occurring, but what this is going to allow us to pause and move forward under a new plan, which I think is great. So thank you guys for suggesting this.
This board has always prided itself on being pro-development, and we are, but we recognize if there's an issue, sometimes we may have to pump on the brakes, which in this case it looks like we're going to, which I'm certainly in favor for. We're for development, but we're for smart development, and sometimes you have to pump the brakes so that we make sure that we get these things right, and I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we have to have smart development. It's difficult. It's a double-edged sword. Like Mr. Nestler did describe, it does cost people money sometimes when we do a pause because of interest rates or other things. It's a difficult decision, but we have to make sure we plan properly. And we got to make sure that we take care of existing businesses as well. That's a big concern for us. As we know, we do whatever we can for our existing businesses, and this is no different. Any other comments or questions? Anybody from the public? Yes, sir. Mr. Grasso, how are you?
Good evening. I remember some of this discussion maybe 3 years ago, and I brought up the fact that is there any way to give business people an incentive to, come on board?
Is this for the moratorium?
Yeah.
No, there's no more. This has nothing to do with the moratorium.
No, wait. Maybe I'm...
You gotta wait till the public comments. Let's get through this. I can't tell Mr. DeMasso to sit down and not you now because of this.
Now you got me confused. I gotta sit down and
Do you have any comments about the moratorium?
No.
Okay, wait then. All right. Anyone else wish to speak on pro or yay or nay on the moratorium? Okay, with that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now closed. Do I have a motion to adopt the negative declaration and the local law as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Local law adopted as amended. Thank you so much. We're almost there. Do I have everybody received the January 27, 2022 minutes? Mr. Clerk, any changes, alterations? No. Okay, very good. Do I have a motion to approve January 27, 2022 minutes? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes now approved. Thank you. Nothing on additions to the agenda. Courtesy of the floor. Anybody wish to speak on on general town issues, sure, or anything on the agenda.
Not on the
Please
agenda.
state your name and if you're a resident.
Maria, and I'm a resident of East Fishkill.
East Fishkill or
Yep.
Fishkill?
East Fishkill.
Okay.
I'm right down the road. This could be about anything, right?
General town comments.
Okay, wonderful. Is anyone here aware of this story? Dutchess County mom says son denied medical care for not wearing a mask in our town.
No.
Okay, let me bring that up. Anyone aware of the Children's Medical Group down the road in Hopewell?
I guess, which
The
one?
Children's Medical Group?
I am.
Okay, we have offices in Hopewell and Fishkill and Poughkeepsie. They're all over. It's our doctor. There was an emergency at my house a couple weeks ago, and I had to take my friend and her 7-year-old little boy with a major head injury, open wound to the head, to the Children's Medical Group in Hopewell on emergency. That was the closest location we needed to take him. Blood all over his face. We were hysterical, bone exposed, you know. So we go there, and right away we're not even asked about the boy who's 7, this big, and has an open head wound, but we're given masks, of course. We're not thinking about masks. We're thinking about getting this little kid in to be seen, because we don't know what's going on. No one was concerned. They're shoving masks in our hands and, you know, whatever at this point. We go into the office, we're waiting now for the doctor to come in, and we put the masks on, but we're certainly not going to put an unsterile mask all over a bloody head of a 7-year-old who's crying and screaming, right? It's pretty logical. Masking is not an emergency, but an open head wound is an emergency. Does that sound right to everybody?
Right.
Right. In the next room, we were sitting there for a while, and in the next room, we heard the doctor and the staff saying they're not going to come in and treat us because we're not wearing masks. At that point, we had the masks on, but the kid did not. Again, we're not putting a mask on a bloody head. And then the mother yelled, "Get in here, we need help. What's going on? This is an emergency. We don't have anywhere else to go." So the doctor next to us, who's been practicing for a very long time, was saying in the next room that this is the law, and we're not coming in until you put the mask on. It's pretty ridiculous. This is an emergency situation. Masking is not. So we were yelling, "Please come in, please come in." Finally, he comes in, and he had clenched fists. He's about 6'5", I'm about 5'2", and he stands over me with a puffed chest. I'm a victim of domestic violence. I was a survivor, and I told him to unclench his fists and take down his chest because he was yelling at us to put masks on. We had them on, the kid did not. And he went on to lecture us about the importance of masks instead of treating the 7-year-old boy with a bloody head and an open head wound. So we got the lecture on masks, and I told him to unpuff his chest and unclench his fists and go back out and come back in and be a doctor. And he did. He went out, calmed himself down, came back in, and looked at the head for a second and said, go to urgent care down the road, and walked out. This is how we're treated here. This is called discrimination over something you want us to put on our head when there's a major emergency. And we got treated perfectly fine in the urgent care here, PM pediatrics, and the kid needed like 10 stitches in his face. What can we do in the town about these discrimination cases? There's no committee on anyone fielding these complaints or mitigating any of this. Is there any plan to do such things, form a committee maybe in town, in the county? Because these things are very common. This is what's going on. Currently, I run the page Open Dutchess on Facebook, and a lot of these complaints are being fielded on my page. I'm not in any position to mitigate these issues. Is there anything in town that...
Is this in our purview?
I think you have to make a complaint to the state because they provide the licenses. The town here.
State medical board.
State medical board.
File a complaint with the state medical board.
we have no jurisdiction, or we have no, probably, teeth.
To make matters worse, they now kicked the family out of the practice as a punishment. It's been on the news, Channel 12. This is going on and on. Now, as the pandemic, is it over? I don't even know anymore. We're still required to wear masks in these medical facilities. Can anyone here tonight commit to taking any action into educating our most highly educated in the town, these medical, doctors, on what a law is? Because this is certainly not a law, and it's certainly, you can't refuse medical care to a young child. Can any action be taken on educating these medical practices around this behavior? Maybe a behavioral correction, or, some bedside manner when there's an emergency coming in and everyone's a little, hot under the collar around the masking business.
Yeah, I could make a recommendation to the county health department and have them do something.
Please.
But I don't think the town has resources or purview over any such discussions. We definitely don't have the knowledge or education to be discussing what they should be doing or should not, but I think the health department does.
Can you do that? Because I want to just add this: if this was more severe, and we spent many minutes, if this was something that could have ended up in a death, the child probably would have died, because there was so many minutes going by where the kid was not even being focused upon. And if the injury was slightly worse, God knows what else.
Doesn't he take an oath as a doctor?
I told him about that.
Like they're putting the mask
I mean,
over the...
I reminded him of
I think he would
that.
be liable for a lawsuit personally, but...
How is the child now? Is he okay?
He's fine, but again, 10 stitches in the head and a lot of trauma, and there was a lot of yelling going on, specifically at me and the mother. And it's a complex issue, but a lot of anger around this masking business. But again, there was no attention given to the child who had an open head wound. It was very focused on the masking. I think people here are suffering mentally from this masking business.
So Maria, your story is not a single story. You hear people that they needed a heart transplant and that they were refused service because of a similar situation. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But like the town supervisor said, they take a note when they become a doctor that everything else should be put on the side, including their personal feelings, and take care of the patient, especially in an emergency situation. Sure. If there is a car accident on the road, would I ask that doctor, is he not going to stop and help because that guy is not wearing a mask behind the wheel? It doesn't make sense. But I know that from somewhere above, there's been negative influence to behave a certain way because of repercussion against these physicians. Certain people bought into that. It's very bad. Shouldn't happen. But human beings are human beings. And as far as the town board, I express my feelings, and I know what's going on, and it's not fair. There are many people out there right now that they have not been to a physician because of this situation.
I think one of the biggest problems I'm seeing is people, these are highly educated, they're medical doctors, they're very misinformed about law. And I think the messaging in this county and the town, and I think it's time to now calm down with the COVID messaging and put out some new messaging around, hey, it's okay now, everybody, lighten up. Because, we're going to see these emergencies, and we can't have this type of discrimination that could end in possible death because people aren't paying attention. And if this was a life-threatening emergency, probably about 10 to 15 minutes went by before the kid was even looked at. I don't think that's acceptable. I think we need to, if we can here, commit to some kind of action where we're putting out messaging to our medical staff, especially, because this is not the first case and this is not going to be the last case. And like you said, Manny, people are not even seeing a doctor. I won't go into it. This is too much for me now. So that's my ask.
Office, why not picket in front of that office?
Picketing does nothing and rallying does nothing. I don't do this anymore. I used to do it. I don't do it anymore.
Business in your jurisdiction, so.
But we have no purview, so if they're not breaking any town laws.
Okay.
What you're doing tonight is something very commendable.
Thank you.
But for us legally, I have to say, there is nothing that we could do legally to interfere and make a difference.
I'm not even asking for anything legally. I think we need messaging around the community. And it doesn't have to target this, but messaging to bring us back into normalcy. We had a lot of messaging come out with COVID and social distancing and signs all over the floor, where to walk and how to think and what to put on our face. I think it's time to bring some normal messaging, to ease people back into a more normal mindset, because people's mindset is very dark right now and actually very discriminative. And we don't have anywhere to field these complaints. I've asked Marcus Molinaro to start a committee. We had a lot of signatures on that because my personal page is turning into a site to field complaints against businesses and medical staff and things like this. And we really do need professionals looking at this stuff, because this could end in death.
Years ago, when I was younger than I am now, physicians in communities like these, they used to donate their time after they're doing their work to people that couldn't afford services. Okay, that went out the window a long time ago. Doesn't happen.
Right.
And this gentleman or this person, whoever that person is, should kind of remind himself or herself that in order for him to become a doctor, tax dollars through scholarships and everything else were used for him or her to achieve the position he achieved. It's a society mentality that has changed. Sometimes we become strange to our own neighbors.
It's called fear, and it's completely inhibiting people's ability to make decisions.
Change it.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak on general town issues or anything on any resolutions? Hey, Mike. See you. Go ahead, Mr. DeMasso. Oh, no, wait, let him go first. He's not a resident. You're not a resident, so we'll give you 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Council and Supervisor D'Alessandro. Well, I'm no longer a resident of East Fishkill, but I grew up here on Lake Walton Road. I went to Van Wyck and John Jay, and I know most of you guys up on the board.
You're a former councilman.
Right. And the reason why I'm here, I'm a native of Dutchess County, grew up in East Fishkill. I'm a former councilman for the city of Beacon, so I know how complicated and challenging things can be on that side of the table. And especially for the last 2 years here. I do believe COVID is real. I have been vaccinated, so I'm not an anti-vaxxer. But I have come to voice my displeasure for both our county and the town of East Fishkill in promoting vaccinations for children against COVID-19. To promote an experimental medical procedure is against the Nuremberg Code, if you guys are not aware of that, Mr. Attorney. Every single person in the world is well aware of the options by now and have probably spoken to their doctors and their families on what's best for them. The big pharma lobby and our government has spent billions on the advertisement of these experiments, but will not discuss the adverse events or effects or the dangers associated with these. These big pharma corporations have no liability and have all also tried to push off its trial data for 55 years. And on August 23rd, 2001, Pfizer was granted its BLA license from the FDA for its vaccine called Comirnaty. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but much of America thought that the Pfizer vaccine had full approval, but that same day the BLA license was withdrawn and Comirnaty is still not even available in the United States. As a United States Army veteran, I was very much disheartened to see that service members have been forced to get these experimental injections or forced being discharged from service. Just about all service members, or about 90%, have taken the jab. On the 25th of January this year, just a couple weeks ago, there was congressional testimony from attorneys and doctors reporting confirmed data inputted by the Department of Defense medical providers into the Defense Medical Epidemiology Database, known as DMED. This data was driven from January 2021 to November 2021 on service members and their families who had received the emergency use authorized vaccines. The data shows a change in the average of previous 5 years. And these are increases in heart attacks at a rate of 269%, from 612 service members to 1,650. Pericarditis, 175% increase, from 589 to 1029. Myocarditis, 285% increase, from 127 to 363. Pulmonary embolisms, 467% increase, from 746 to 3,489. HIV, from 454 people to 2,681. Chest pains, an increase of 1,529%, from 4,892 to 74,813 people. Difficulty breathing, a 905% increase, from 4,968 to 44,990. Now, I'm sure most of us, if not all, we're not even aware of any of this data or information that's out there, because this is information that nobody's sharing with anybody. I'm saying it now because I want to let you guys know. I'm going to other town boards, I'm going to the county, I'm letting them know, and I want this to be on public record so everybody does know that there are ill effects that are out there. It might not happen to everybody, but it has happened to, as you can see, these people. I mean, our service members have a right and should be honored in this country. Please do not let this happen to our community and our children, because I know that's the next thing. They're pushing for kids under 5 years old. These kids are not getting sick whatsoever. I work for the school district in Beacon City School District. We were open for 2 years. And the kids weren't getting sick. They're not really affected by this. I mean, who knows what the future holds, but this data is being suppressed, and we're all supposed to feel obligated to get the shot. That's the messaging out there. It's propaganda. And we need to stop this now. You guys are officials. You've been elected to office and trusted by the public to uphold the Constitution and protect its people from unbegotten nefariousness. Please do the right thing for the safety of us all. I'll leave you guys with these final words, and I want you to think very deeply about it. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men and women to do nothing. Thank you, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Councilman. Anybody else wish to speak on general town issues? Mr. DeMasso, it's your turn.
You gave me the opportunity to think of the correct terminology that I was trying to refer to. Back, I think maybe a year ago, there was a demonstration and an animation regarding the traffic flow on 82 to be Main Street. And tonight you mentioned, I think, 2 turnabouts that are anticipated in the design, one at Unity Street and one at...
Yeah, in my comments, right, yes.
In that illustration, back when, I think it may have been New York State DOT that was here, and there was an animation with that illustrated traffic flow. And at that time, what had gotten my attention was the dismissal of traffic flow at St. Columba. And I understand that it is probably maybe one day a week, that's a pretty intense traffic.
Why would they dismissed it?
Well, even in the comments where there are only 2 turnabouts, there's none inclusive of any increased volume of traffic flow at the entrance and the exit of St. Columba.
Yeah, well, we have a plan for 4 roundabouts, which would include one at 82 and 376, and then one also at Frankie's.
Frankie's Deli?
Frankie's Superette.
Okay.
So the grand plan is to have 4.
Okay.
But to get the funding.
Okay, all right.
So that's why we had to pick our battles. That's why we chose where the suicide lane is.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
All right, I just wanted to bring that to your attention because of your
But
comments.
the likelihood, if we would get the 2 with the CMAQ grant on the main strip there, we would have a very high chance of getting the others.
I've heard that before.
Yes. Yes.
I've heard that before. Get it? Once you get the grant, chances of getting another grant.
Right.
Oh, Hillside Lake.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we might have something even better for Hillside Lake. Yeah. We might have something better for Hillside Lake we're looking at.
Your heads are going to spin off.
I heard he's moving to Florida, though, so he won't be around.
Wait a second. Mr. Grasso is not in the room. Anybody else wish to speak on any general town issues? Anything? Any resolutions? No, with that, let's start the resolutions. Nothing to receipt and file? Okay. Resolution 1, Councilman Marinero.
No, you insulted me, so. No, I'm good.
So Resolution 1 is granting concessions, facility use privileges, whereas on various recreational site owned and operated by the town, there are concessions facility. The town board has reviewed the request for proposal for various vendors to utilize the concessions facilities and decides to serve the users of the facilities over the summer months. And the town board has reviewed the references, the menus, and other issues pertaining to the vendors. It is the desire of the town board to authorize use of the concessions, that the Route 376 Opal Recreation Concession Facility may be utilized from April 30th, 2022 through October 1st, 2022 by Amani Kitchens upon payment to the town of the sum of $1,000 and upon agreement of the vendors to be open during all activities and events at the site as set forth in the next proposal and report what the net actual was. That the site and Route 52 Complex Concession Facility may be utilized from April 30th, 2022 to October 1st, 2022 by East Fishkill Soccer Club upon payment to the town of the sum of $500 and upon agreement to the vendors to be open during all activities and events at the site as set forth in the next proposal and report what the net actual was. Now therefore be it resolved that the Red Wing Park Concession Facility may be utilized again the same date, April 30th to October 1st, with a sum of $500 by the vendor, and again using all the activities and reporting the actual net. That all of the vendors shall sign a letter of agreement as prepared by the town attorney and provide to the town attorney for approval certificate of insurance prior to entering upon the use of the concession facility. Renovation or improvement proposed in said bids shall be agreed upon after inspection from the Recreation and Highway Department.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to award the concession bids for Red Wing and Main Park and Soccer Field?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Discussion. So we do this every year. Obviously, we have to go out for a bid every year. But we are looking to improve these facilities, right, Councilman?
Yeah, there's been discussion. I mean, this week, I was going to say, when my comments came, that I met with the staff, the Recreation Department, and we will be going over to inspect the kitchens and some of the bathrooms, the different facilities, and we'll see what we could do to improve.
Maybe we can get
want to
more
make
money.
sure that the kids, they eat healthy and that the kitchens are really taken care of. I'm in the restaurant business, so I think at this time they have the best person to really go over this equipment.
I can look too, you know.
Make sure, well, I invited you, Nick. If you're available, you're more than welcome. 2 is always better than 1. But, yeah, so it's going to be a lot better, probably, if not this year, next year, if we're able to put some improvements together.
Right. Thank you, Councilman. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Number 2, Councilman Bepan.
Whereas the town of East Fishkill Police has provided a list of equipment to be declared surplus. It's about 4 vehicles, 3 Tauruses, 1 Explorer, 1 Smart Speed Enforcement Trailer. So therefore be it resolved that the town vehicles to be hereby declared surplus and to be disposed of by participating in an auction process held by Absolute Auctions and Realty, and resolved that the sale of said vehicles shall be further approved by the town board.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to declare certain vehicles surplus in the auction?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? These are really vehicles beat down, huh, Chief?
We got our money's worth.
We definitely got our money's worth. Thank God. Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Number 3, a part-time police assistant, that will be tabled. They ran off, I think.
Oh, boy.
They're scared of the chief, I think.
Yeah, the chief scared them. Number 4, camps, recreation, Councilman Marinaro.
So authorizing hiring of directors for camp at Red Wing Lake. Whereas the town of East Fishkill conducts extensive summertime programs for the town. The recreation director has submitted a letter to the town board with the names of 2 directors and their seasonal salaries attached hereto. And the recreation director recommends that the town board rehires Danielle Keenan as camp director and Catherine Frolick as camp director, Red Wing for camp director. And whereas it is the desire of the town board to authorize the hiring of a camp director and a Red Wing Lake director for the summer season, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints Danielle Keenan to the camp director and Catherine Frolick to Red Wing Director at a seasonal salary of $10,500. Be it further resolved that the employment shall be for a period of time from which they are hired until the conclusion of their summertime program. That upon completion of the task, they shall be removed from the payroll unless further ordered by the town board.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to authorize the hiring of the summer camp and Red Wing directors?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? So every year, these 2 are our former directors. They held the positions last year. We are having, for other director positions, there are assistant director positions. Those applications are due by February 14th, I believe. Yeah. And for those out there, Bill Green, he doesn't make many mistakes, so. Anything else?
Danielle has and Catherine, they've both been incredible assets to the town, so thank them for all that they do.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Service weapons, Councilman Bepan.
Whereas Whereas officers Mark Dodato and Robert Schumacher and Ryan Angeletti recently retired from the police department, whereas it is customary to allow a retiring peace officer to retain his service weapon, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized to transfer the weapons to the above retirees.
Thank you. Councilman, do I have a motion to authorize the transfer of the service weapons?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? It's in our contract, correct, for our officers to receive their service weapons after retirement?
It's customary.
Customary, right? And congratulations to Mark Dodato, Bob Schumacher, and Ryan Angeletti on their retirements as well. There was a, they performed many great years of service for our community, so thank you all. Any other comments or questions?
Congratulations on their retirement.
Chief, anything?
No, sir.
No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Number 6, I'm going to table that. We didn't finish that. Number 7, Councilman Franco.
Authorize retirement incentive payment, whereas the town controller has submitted a retirement incentive payment plan for current CSEA employees to the town board. Now therefore be it resolved that the attached document outlines such a retirement incentive payment plan with terms thereof as it relates to CSEA current employees. Be it further resolved that the town board does and hereby authorizes a retirement incentive payment for CSEA employees as per described in the town controller memo that is attached herein.
Thank you, Councilman. I think I want to make a change to this. We did say June 1st, 2022 would be the last day that they have to indicate that they would have to be employed by. I think maybe we should give them a little bit more time, because it is a little tight.
You mean notify by March 31st?
Yeah, they notify us by March 31st, but they have to be retired by June 1st.
Okay.
So I think maybe they could notify us by April 30th, and...
Extend it through July?
Yeah, or August, or how long,
The end
September?
of summer, yeah, the end of summer, September 1st.
September 1st, maybe,
We'll put it right before fourth quarter, or else if you want to do the end of the year.
September, October, November, December, yeah, okay,
Does
let's
that make
do
any difference, Mark?
Yeah, is that better for you?
It's fine either way.
Okay, so let's amend it to say they notify the town by
Why don't you put
April.
June, the end of June, notify and do it by the December.
The end of the year?
End of the year?
I mean, if it's,
Maybe that'll incentivize more?
The only thing I would request is that we know by budget season. So I think, I would say the latest, would be the September timeframe, just in
So
case we need
maybe
to make
let us know
adjustments.
by June, like the councilman said, and then they have to be retired by the end of the year.
No, he was saying
by the end of September?
I'm sorry?
by September because of budget.
Just to ensure
I'll
that
be
we...
retired by September?
Yeah, I think that would be fair.
Okay, the end of September, beginning of September?
End of September.
Okay, so then why don't we say this? The employee must notify the town by April 30th. Is that 30 days in April, right? 2022. And
So it would be
retire in their actual
Yeah, the last day would be September 30th.
September 30th.
Later then.
Is that good? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Change? Town clerk, you all right? We're going fast here.
September 30.
September 30, 2022.
Right.
Okay?
MC, you got it?
We're going quick, clerk. You got to keep up here.
He's good, he's on it.
Will you grant a grace period if somebody decides after April?
Well, this is why we're extending it. No grace periods. All right, so do I have a motion to authorize a retirement incentive as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councilman Franco, number 8.
Approved new dumpster program for senior residents, whereas the town board from time to time reviews all fees and programs charged by the various departments of the town, whereas the town board is asked to authorize a modification of the existing town clerk's dumpster program and current fee schedule. Now therefore be it resolved that the next list of fees shall be established for calendar year 2022 as the fees to be charged for the use of senior residents age 65 and over for disposal of permitted debris to be taken to Royal Carting Solid Waste Transfer Station. Be it further resolved, the town board approves the attached list of fees and permitted debris for 2022.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to approve new dumpster program for seniors?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? So we reviewed our dumpster program, and it really wasn't getting utilized, and it really was not a benefit. We were charging them pretty much the same price that it cost them to go to Royal and pay. So it really wasn't good. So they would come here, waste their time to pay for something that they would pay for at the same price at Royal. So the town clerk took it upon himself to say, we got to change this, right, clerk? Yeah, he's really moving and shaking in that clerk's office, gotta tell you. So we said, let's do away with that and just offer a program that would be beneficial for the seniors, giving them a financial break on that. So that's what we're doing. It cost for a SUV, station wagon, or minivan, $15, or a pickup truck, trailer, or commercial van, $25.
It's by weight limit, so.
Yeah,
up to
300 and 500 pounds. Up to 300 pounds and 500 pounds, $15 and $25. So that's saving them, I believe, like $15 that they would get at Royal. So at least it's, for the seniors, we wanted to offer something. Any other comments, questions?
Question.
Do we have a motion in a second? Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Recreation, Councilman Marinaro.
So authorize promotion in the Recreation Department, where the town supervisor identified the need to create an assistant recreation director position. It has been established by Dutchess County Human Resources that there is no mandatory list for said title. The town supervisor recommends promoting Christine Selback into the position. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby appoints Christine Selback to Assistant Recreation Director, and such persons will be paid pursuant to the CSEA Collective Bargaining Agreement salary schedule, level 5A, with an on-call pay effective February 14, 2022.
Thank you, Councilman. Do I have a motion to promote Christine Selback to Assistant Rec Director? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So Christine has been with our Recreation Department for a long while now. She's been doing an outstanding job, and it's a long time coming. Any other comments or questions?
Christine, well, you said it. Christine has done a phenomenal job, and she definitely deserves this promotion, and we thank her for everything that she's done for recreation and for staying with the town as long as she has.
Yes, absolutely.
She's been a tremendous help, and she's also part of our Hometown Connections program, and she's very vital to that.
Great.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Okay, number
I'll tell her you clapped.
Accept a proposal from HVEA for curve alignment on Route 376. So the town engineer and town board, we discussed the concern in the town on Route 376 in the hamlet. If you're going towards Fishkill Plains, there's a very terrible curve on 376 right past the railroad tracks. And we are formally requesting Hudson Valley Engineering Associates to evaluate that curve and see what we can do, hopefully obtain some grant funding to do the fix there. So with this resolution, would give the authority for the town board to hire HVEA to do that assessment. Any comments by the engineer?
No, I think you summed it up pretty well. You know, the idea is to have a preliminary design done, accident data will be evaluated, and try to put us in a position that we can apply for grants, because we know there's a lot of infrastructure funds coming in. Right now, that curve is not on anywhere on a DOT radar, so.
And the DOT did indicate when we had their meeting with them about the bridge, Route 82 bridge, that perhaps if we were to get more involved and help facilitate the fix there, that they would join in. So that was very hopeful. So this is the first step. Any comments or questions from the board? Do I have a motion to accept the proposal from HVEA? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay. No additions to the agenda. Budget transfers. There's no budget transfers. We said yes, but there isn't. And comments. Let's start with our Highway Superintendent, Kenny Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, a little tired. We've been putting in lots of hours, early mornings, trying to keep up with the ice.
You're working? Yeah.
You know, unless you get me a few more guys, I got to work.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Backdoor that one, huh?
So you guys all know we've been out with a lot of different ice events, and with the ice and the scraping off of the roads, we've had quite a few potholes out there. So we've been out patching the potholes and keeping the roads as safe as we can from the ice. And when we do have these events, it's better if people can stay home, but if you have to go out, we are out there to try to keep you all safe. We've been working with our police department and our fire department as well on trying to get them to some calls during these events, and everything goes done pretty well with those events anyway. But we've been out, patching the potholes, keeping the roads safe, restocking our salt sheds and sand sheds, because we've gone through quite a bit of material over the last, since the last meeting, quite a few events. So we're out there, and I'd like to thank all the men and women of the Highway Department, especially my foremans and my secretary, because we are fielding lots of calls and trying to keep up with it. That's about it.
Thank you, Highway Soup.
You're welcome.
Chief of Police. How are you, sir?
Doing very well.
Excellent.
So you mentioned COVID tests here picking up the town. We do have a few at the police station. If someone's not able to get to town hall by a certain time, 8, 9 o'clock at night, we do have a few we can give out. We reevaluated our radio transmissions and our equipment. So after a couple of years of planning and ordering of equipment, we've finally replaced our dispatch radio systems. So everything is new, operating. We did get the equipment on state bid. So all that was installed and functioning today perfectly, and that was quite a long project. Thank you for your help, Mark. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, nice and short.
Councilman Bepan, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Great.
I'd just like to thank everyone over the Highway Department, Police Department, Fire Department for everything that they've been doing for our town, especially during the past couple of snowstorms. I know those long nights probably weren't easy, so we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Thank you. Well, that's it. I have no real comments tonight. Just thank you guys over at the Police Department for everything you're doing. A lot of fun stuff on the agenda over the coming months, so.
Thank you, Councilman. Actually, before I did the council persons, I wanted to hit the clerk, town clerk.
You mean you wanted to hit the clerk?
Well, I see him every day now.
And he bothers me all
Every day I see him.
Just one quick thing that I thought I was getting rid of, but somehow I got hornswoggled into it by the rec people. Cleanup Day is April 2nd, Town Road Cleanup Day. Registration 8 to 8:30 a.m. Register at the town hall, and then we go out and clean the roads, and we're going to speak to 2 people that usually donate everything, but we'll verify that next month.
So, clerk, wait a minute. You say you got hornswoggled into doing town cleanup day.
That was the town board member's job.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Didn't you invent that?
He did.
You did, see?
When you retired me at Community Day, I heard the speech.
Back long ago when you, 75 years ago when you were a councilman, you invented that town cleanup day.
When Manny was younger, I did that.
Councilman Marinaro, go ahead.
So, a couple of things like the town supervisor mentioned before. I just joined the recreation department, and 2 weeks ago, I had the first meeting with the staff, the director, the assistant director now, and the recreation personnel director over there who oversees all the fields. I just had to familiarize myself with what's going on and what needs to be addressed over there. It was a great meeting. We discussed a lot of things that we could improve, many facilities, and some stuff I brought it to the supervisor attention, and we're going to be working on those issues. I will be mentioning them as we move along and get things done. This past Monday, I attended a meeting of the Rec Advisory Board, and there were different members also of the leaders of the different leagues. Again, a lot of information, a lot of exchange of ideas, and soon the kids will be hitting the fields with their programs, so we have to start getting ready. Tuesday of this week, we had another meeting with the staff at Recreation, and some stuff was brought up to my attention. Again, improvement of certain fields, especially a lime kill facility. And we're looking into that, and as we try to make improvements, I will be sharing that with the community. I'm going to read a couple of things that are going on or will be happening. The Youth Basketball League meets on Saturdays and Sunday at Gayhead Elementary School, Danwick Junior High School, and John Jay School for the youngsters grades 3 to 12. The league will continue through the first week of March. Also, basketball, co-ed volleyball, and our men's pickup basketball league will continue through March. Both meet on Sunday mornings from 9 to 11 a.m. at Van Wyck Junior High School. Volleyball also meets on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. What else? So we spoke about cleanup day. I think April 9th is the tentative date announced by the director for the annual Easter egg hunt, which will take place from 1 to 3 p.m. We will make more announcement about this next month again. This will be at the community center, and there will be refreshments. Also on April 9th, it's opening day for basketball, softball, and soccer leagues, and I believe there will be a parade on that day also. So anybody that has any question about recreation or any concerns, please call 845-226-8395. You could call my cell number, 646-296-5360. Also, you could reach them out on the internet, eastfishkillrecreation.com. And usually we will respond promptly and address any issues or any questions.
Thank you, Councilman.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Allow me.
Sure.
So we've been talking about the new director that we interviewed. We are very excited about this person taking over the programs, but it's not a done deal yet. There is always things sometimes don't go as smooth as we plan it to go, but we are working on it. And as soon as we have a definite answer, we will make an announcement to the community.
Thank you, Councilman. Yeah, we're hopeful. We'll see what happens. Councilman Franco.
Hey, Kenny, you and your crew, great job. We really appreciate all the hard work, especially during all the snowstorms, the ice storms. I was around you guys today. I walked around and noticed all the mechanical stuff that you guys are doing. So I don't know if the public really knows that, how much money that you guys really save, the in-house stuff that you're doing, helping our police department, helping the town. So we really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just real quickly, we had a meeting today, as the supervisor mentioned earlier in his comments, with Saratoga Associates. They're the architects for our Veteran Memorial Park that we've got coming across the street. It was a terrific meeting. We had members of our East Fishkill Veterans Committee there as well. We're just going over, again, we're still in the early stages. This is our second meeting with them. This one, they gave us I'd say about 9 different renditions of
They
to
gave a
choose
lot
from.
of options.
So we were just picking and choosing things that we liked, things that we didn't like, and they were making notes. And then we took a little field trip across the street. We walked the property. And again, afterwards, we came up with even more ideas. So we're still in the early stages, but hopefully we'll see something get done at some point this year.
All right, great. Thank you. And I'll say for the third time, April 2nd is Town Cleanup Day.
First.
No, second.
No, second.
Second?
Yeah.
See, it's good that you
Saturday,
said
always
that.
a Saturday.
First day officially.
I just would like to make one comment. There's one of our former retired police officers, Ryan Angeletti. Last night, his mother passed away, Jackie Angeletti, longtime town resident and salt of the earth woman. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. And my condolences to the Angeletti family. We are praying for you. So, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Wow, that was fast.